Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt and I do like video games, and in today's video we're talking about video games. We're talking about last week's Xbox Developer Direct, and we're going through each and every one of the games, the highlights, the lowlights, everything in between. So let's get right into the video. So first up, I think it's probably important to start the video as the show started, and that was with Minecraft Legends. Now, admittedly, I'm not very much into Minecraft, but I can see that it is a worldwide craze, and it doesn't seem like it's ever going to slow down at any point. That being said, Minecraft Legends might be the first and only Minecraft game that I'm even sort of remotely interested in. I feel like this could be a game that's pretty fun to play with my friends. I mean, the premise seems simple enough. It seems like a co-op base builder where enemies attack you in waves, and while that's happening, you also gather resources to keep building your base. Now, this is able to be played single player, but for me, really the big selling point, if you can call it that for this game, for me at least, is the fact that I can do co-op with my friends. It's also a pretty good looking game too, as far as Minecraft is concerned. Obviously, blocky, pixelated characters, but it is a pretty looking game in terms of its lighting. And if you're looking forward to that, then you don't have to wait too long because it is coming to consoles and PC April 18th, 2023. So not far away at all. And then I think we got to talk about Forza Motorsport because that did show up at the showcase, and I'm a little split on it. Not because it looked bad, it looked phenomenal. I just personally find it weird, and I know a lot of other people feel this way, that we did not see an official release date for Forza Motorsport. In fact, it was the only game at the show that we didn't see an official release date for. We'll talk more about that later with all the other release dates for other games. And really, at this point, it seems like the only thing we don't know about Forza Motorsport is the release date, because they came with a lot of details for Forza Motorsport. They talked about the weather system, they talked about dynamic time of day systems, they talked about different tires and how it interacts differently with different types of weather and different environments. They talked about so much stuff in this game. They talked about mixing and matching different parts in your vehicle to get different sounds from your vehicle, obviously different performance. They talked about how the audio in this game was specifically mastered for Dolby Atmos and Windows Sonic, and the fact that that is the first time that Forza Motorsport has ever taken advantage of any of those things. They also talked about ray traced global illumination, which by and large is console players, or I'm assuming a lot of us are console players here, we're mostly familiar with ray traced global illumination because most of these games that support ray tracing on consoles, they usually only support global illumination, and there's a reason for that, and that's because it does make a difference. And if you're still wondering what differences those might be, just take a look at these screenshots I have side by side of The Witcher 3's next gen update. One of these has ray trace global illumination, the other one does not, and I will tell you which ones are which. So as you can see, ray trace global illumination definitely does have an effect on how a game looks, especially in a game like Forza Motorsport, where you have the sun beaming on you at different angles, the moon beaming on you at different angles, you have various different headlights in your rear and in front of you. You've got so many different sources of light creating ambient light that bounces off of your car, off of the tracks, off of the grass, that makes the game look better. And they're aiming to do all of this, in their words, at 4K 60 on Xbox Series X. And that is definitely a tall task for a game as detailed as Forza, but if anybody can do it, I'm sure Turn 10 can do it. And up next might actually be what ended up stealing the show for most people, in fact myself included, and that is Hi-Fi Rush.
Let's make some noise.
And Hi-Fi Rush is interesting for so many reasons. I mean, really, we didn't know anything about this game before the showcase. I mean, I guess it sort of leaked the night before, but even then, I still didn't really know a whole lot about the game. So you've got that mystery factor of, okay, what is this gonna be? And then on top of that, they shadow drop it during the event. And then even on top of that, the game just so happens to be completely awesome. Now, if you're an Xbox fan watching this video, I'm sure you've given Hi-Fi Rush at least a shot, but if you're not familiar with Hi-Fi Rush, it's a rhythm-based action game. I kind of like to think of it like Metal Hellsinger meets Devil May Cry. It's a rhythm-based game with action combat. And it's got some damn good combat as well. Really satisfying combos, really satisfying special moves, and you get various sidekicks throughout the game as you progress the story that will actually help you in the middle of combat, which is actually pretty nice. But the reason I'm really impressed by Hi-Fi Rush, or the reason I'm really drawn to it, the reason I think a lot of people are really drawn to Hi-Fi Rush, is the fact that at its core it is a video game. It is a pure video game experience. Because in this game, the gameplay experience is front and center. It comes before anything and everything else. The purpose of this game isn't to get you immersed in some high-budget dramatic story. The purpose of this game is for you to have fun, and that is the only purpose of this game. And that's not to say it doesn't do other things well, because it does. I mean, like I said, the art style, the characters in this game are very, very likable. The story in this game is actually surprisingly good as well. But really the star of the show is the gameplay. So definitely turn on your Xbox, turn on your PC, give this game a shot, and tell me how you feel. And up next, we're going to be talking about Elder Scrolls Online, so let's get into it. And if you're not familiar with Elder Scrolls Online, well, it's one of the biggest MMORPGs going today. And this is a game that already has tons of content for fans to partake in. I mean, you've got DLCs that stretch all the way back to Morrowind and Skyrim. But at the Developer Direct, they announced a brand new DLC coming to the game on June 5th called Necrom. And with the introduction of the DLC, we also see an introduction of a new playable class into ESO called the Arcanist. The Arcanist can use runic magic, heal, and summon these weird tentacles from this creepy looking abyss. Which actually kind of ties into my next point, and that is the fact the Arcanist actually sort of ties in with Hermaeus Mora. Now, if you've played Elder Scrolls in any way, shape, or form, I'm sure you're familiar with Hermaeus Mora, but for me personally, I'm familiar with Hermaeus Mora from Skyrim. And if you don't know who Hermaeus Mora is, well then it's the Daedric Prince of Knowledge in Elder Scrolls, and if you're not familiar with that, well then it's just the creepy abyss monster from Skyrim that talks in riddles.
Bask in my presence.
Now for me personally, with Elder Scrolls Online, I've got a lot of catching up to do. I was really excited for it at launch, and then I just kind of fell off of it because it wasn't like Skyrim. So I got myself the DLCs. I'm trying to play some of it. I'm trying to get into it. We're going to see how it goes. But so far I'm enjoying myself. And maybe I'll be there once Necrom releases on June 5th. And then finally, you already know we've got to talk about Redfall. And Redfall's interesting because if you know me, you know that one of my most anticipated games in general this year is Redfall. So I'm always hyped whenever we get a chance to see more Redfall. I know there's some people who are kind of burnt out on seeing Redfall, and it kind of was the same way with Deathloop, if I remember correctly. It got over promoted and people got kind of sick of seeing it, but for me, I'm loving every second of it. They showed off a lot in this little showcase here. They showed off the powers, they showed off the gunplay, they showed off different environments, they showed off different places you would be fighting. Lighthouses, residential areas, vampire nests, they showed off a lot of stuff here. We also saw some more of those gunplay mechanics, which, if I do say so myself, look like a pretty decent upgrade from what we saw in Deathloop. I mean, we'll see in the final product, but it does look like a pretty decent upgrade. And I'm pretty impressed by that, because I honestly thought that the gunplay in Deathloop was one of its strongest assets, honestly. But the big news for Redfall here is that we finally have an official release date, and that is May 2nd, 2023. Now, we kind of already knew this, and it was kind of already leaked by Jez Corden a few weeks back at this point on the Xbox 2 podcast. He said himself that the release date would be May 2nd, 2023. And again, kind of like Minecraft Legends, it falls in that weird spot where it feels like it's really, really far away, but in reality, it's not that far away at all. It's about 90 days. So really the only thing that we don't know for certain from this Developer Direct is the release date for Forza Motorsport. But Phil Spencer himself was pretty adamant in saying that it is definitely coming in 2023. He did a follow-up interview, I believe with IGN. I'll have a little clip of that here and I'll leave a link to that in the description. But he is certainly sure to reiterate that Forza Motorsport is coming in 2023. But I want to hear from you guys. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the Developer Direct. I mean, for me personally, I think this is a great format for Xbox to use going forward. I mean, just given the amount of studios that Microsoft has under their umbrella right now, let alone when and if this Activision deal goes through, they've got enough studios where it makes sense to do a show like this every 4 to 6 months. Let's just say 4 to 6 months. 2 shows a year like this. And then you get E3, and I think that's a really solid thing to start building on. But let me know how you guys are feeling down in the comments below. Leave a like if you like the video, and if you're enjoying this kind of content, and you want to stay up to date with it going forward over here on the channel, the best way to do that is consider subscribing, consider ringing the notification bell, because that is the best way to stay up to date with everything that happens over here on the channel. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.